All right, let's dive in. Today, we're hacking our way through the wild, confusing, and honestly overgrown jungle of cybersecurity frameworks. If you've ever felt totally lost in a sea of acronyms and audit checklists, you have come to the right place.
So, let's kick things off with the million-dollar question, right? The one that probably keeps a lot of security pros up at night. How many of these things do you really need? Is there some kind of magic number?
And you know what? Our source just hits the nail on the head here. The answer? Too many. It just perfectly captures that feeling, doesn't it? Drowning in compliance work, buried in paperwork, and watching those invoices pile up.
So, to get through this, we need a map. Here's how we're going to tackle this beast. First, we'll get the lay of the land, the jungle itself. Then we'll take a tour of the major players, from the ISO family to all sorts of global and industry-specific frameworks. And we'll wrap it all up with a survival guide to get you out in one piece.
Okay, first rule of the framework jungle. You probably don't need to visit every corner of it. The real secret here isn't about collecting more certifications. It's about being smart and educating your customers and your own team on which ones actually matter to your business.
Now, this is super important to get your head around. There are basically two kinds of frameworks out there. On one hand, you've got the certifiable ones. You do the audit, you pass, you get a formal certificate, a shiny badge for your website. But then you've got the non-certifiable ones, like GDPR or HIPAA. There's no badge to get, you just have to follow the rules, or, face some pretty hefty consequences. Getting this distinction is like step one. It's crucial.
All right, let's start our tour in a surprisingly civilized part of the jungle. We're meeting the ISO family. Our source has this great name for them, the well-behaved cousins of the framework world. And honestly, it fits. They're structured, they're known everywhere, and they're not going to trap you forever. So, who are the main players here? Well, you've got ISO 27001. That's the real bread and butter for info security. Then there's 27071, which is all about privacy and lines up nicely with things like GDPR. You have 22301 for making sure your business can keep running no matter what. And check this out. There's even a new one, 4201, for AI governance. Super timely, right? They give you a clear path without totally breaking the bank. And for all you cloud folks, there are even more specialized ISOs, like 27017 for cloud security and 27018 for protecting personal data in the cloud. But listen up, here's the real pro tip. If you need more than one of these, bundle the audits together. Seriously, integrating them will save you a world of hurt and a ton of cash.
Now, let's look at a really specific one that's a big deal if you're in the automotive world. TSAX. It started in Germany, but it's going global. But here's the thing. You got to be careful. This one can turn into a total budget black hole if you don't nail down the scope of your audit right from the very beginning.
Okay, leaving the neat and tidy world of the ISOs behind, the landscape starts to change. A lot. We're heading into different territories now, looking at frameworks that are built for specific regions, like the US, or for specific industries like healthcare and finance.
And I just love how our source describes this next group, the American Classics. And yeah, that kind of says it all, doesn't it? Prepare for things to get lengthy, expensive, and you'll probably have your legal team on speed dial.
And when we say expensive, we mean it. You've got SOC2, which has been described as being about as exciting as watching paint dry, just way more costly. Then there's FedRAMP if you want to work with the US government, and CMMC for the defense sector. Yeah, we're talking serious money here.
And man, the variety in this territory is just wild. You've got GDPR in Europe, remember, not a certificate, but a law you do not want to break. There's HIPAA and US healthcare, another one where you comply, but there's no badge. And then PCI DSS. If you handle credit card data, that one basically owns you. And don't forget HITRUST, this giant mega framework that tries to do everything for everyone.
And of course, we can't forget the incredibly influential frameworks from NIST in the US. The source calls the main cybersecurity framework a pick-your-controls buffet, and that's the perfect way to think about it. It's not a strict audit, it's a flexible set of best practices you can adapt to your needs.
Phew. Okay, we've seen the good, the bad, and the seriously expensive. So, how do you actually get out of this jungle alive without going broke or completely crazy? Well, here is your survival guide. So the secret isn't just grabbing every shiny framework a customer dangles in front of you. No, it comes down to this simple 3-step strategy for staying sane. First, does it actually match your industry?
Second, do you have the resources, the people, the time, the money? And third, what's your real appetite for risk?
I mean, this quote from the source just nails it. Want to go broke? Try to collect them all like they're Pokemon cards. Want to stay sane? Be strategic. Pick the one that actually fits your business.
And that leads us to the single most important thing to remember from all of this. After all this talk about frameworks, the number one biggest risk you face, it's not what you think. It's not about picking the wrong one.
It's this right here. It's the trap of pretending that a shiny certificate on your wall means you're actually secure. Or the danger of committing to a framework without being brutally honest about the resources it's going to take year after year. A certificate is just a snapshot in time. It is not security.
So, I'll leave you with a little homework. Think about your own company. Which frameworks are you juggling right now? And which ones are actually making you more secure versus just checking a box? And, just for fun, how many of these acronyms can you rattle off in one breath? Awesome having you along for this trek through the framework jungle.